Some athletes are talented. Some reach greatness. But once in a generation, someone comes along who doesn't just alter the scoreline. They reshape the entire ecosystem around their sport. Not only wins and losses, not just highlights or jersey sales, but TV programming, labor talks, front office decisions, and even the cultural conversation itself. You don't have to skateboard to know Tony Hawk. You don't need to follow sprinting to recognize Usain Bolt. Ask a casual fan to name a golfer, and Tiger Woods is usually where the list ends. These figures didn't simply dominate their fields. They widened the audience and redefined the ceiling. And right now, women's basketball is experiencing that same inflection point. The WNBA didn't just add a star. It gained a gravitational force. Her name is Caitlin Clark. And whether people celebrate her rise, resist it, or feel conflicted by it, one reality is impossible to deny. The league now moves differently because she's here.
In the WNBA, the Houston Comets have won their third straight championship.
Missed the shot from three-point range straight away. Myers gets it up to Leslie. What's she gonna do? She does it! For the first time in WNBA history, someone has done it!
Orchestrator, perhaps, of the biggest turnaround in professional sports history. From worst to...
It's real! It's real!
You know, winning never gets old, but when you do it with a group, it never gets old.
For nearly 30 years, the WNBA battled for legitimacy, fighting for attention, for broadcast slots, for investment, and for the simple right to exist without explanation. Women's basketball was constantly asked to justify itself. Then Caitlin Clark arrived, and suddenly the league didn't have to sell belief anymore. People who had never watched a single WNBA game weren't tuning in out of duty or curiosity alone. They were tuning in because it felt unmissable. That difference is everything. Obligation creates short-term spikes. Genuine interest builds lasting habits. But when one athlete rises this quickly, friction is inevitable. Some fans felt other stars were being overshadowed. Some players believed years of work were being minimized. Critics claimed the media was inflating one player to rescue the league. The question spread fast: is Caitlin Clark truly this impactful? Or is the WNBA exaggerating her value to survive? It wasn't an unreasonable debate, but by 2025, it stopped being a matter of opinion. The conversation turned into numbers.
Welcome you to ESPN's coverage of the WNBA preseason presented by State Farm. The fans filed outside in droves getting ready at Carver Hawkeye Arena, and watch parties all around Iowa City. Everybody wants to catch a glimpse of Iowa's favorite daughter, Caitlin Clark, returning home. Fans of all ages ready to celebrate a Hawkeye fever here in Iowa.
Clark's 2024 NCAA championship game drew nearly 19 million viewers, obliterating every women's basketball record, surpassing multiple men's tournament benchmarks, and even outpacing recent NBA Finals games. But spikes can happen. What truly stunned executives wasn't the peak. It was what didn't happen next. There was no drop-off. Her WNBA debut became the most-watched game in ESPN's WNBA history, and instead of ratings sliding back to league norms, viewership stayed elevated. By the end of the 2024 season and carrying into 2025, games featuring Clark made up the bulk of million-viewer broadcasts. Indiana Fever games led national ratings, no matter who they played. Even Fever Road games outperformed home games featuring long-established powerhouse franchises. That isn't casual fandom. That's a fundamental shift in audience behavior.
And at guard from Iowa, wearing number 22, Caitlin Clark.
By 2025, league-wide attendance had climbed past the WNBA's inaugural 1997 season, with post-COVID recovery accelerating far beyond projections. Expansion stopped being a hypothetical and started sounding realistic. Attendance doesn't respond to slogans or ad campaigns. It responds to belief, and belief showed up in arenas. Strip away the headlines and social media noise, and the truth becomes clear. Caitlin Clark's rookie season wasn't just impressive for a first-year player. It was historically disruptive. She shattered the single-season assist record, logged the first rookie triple-double in league history, became the first rookie in more than a decade to earn first-team All-WNBA honors, and was directly responsible for over 45% of her team's total offense. That kind of offensive burden is rare in modern basketball, regardless of gender, and she handled it immediately, with no grace period. Defenses adjusted. Physical play increased. Pressure mounted. Her production never dipped. And this is where skepticism runs out of room. Clark's average three-point attempts come from roughly 28 feet, deeper than the NBA's highest volume shooters, deeper than standard WNBA coverage models. Nearly 6 feet beyond the arc defensive systems simply aren't designed for that kind of range. When one player stretches the floor that far, help defenders hesitate, rotations break down, passing lanes open, and teammates flourish. Clark isn't just scoring. She's warping defensive structure itself. That isn't a stylistic quirk. That's real influence.
And she'll take the first three-pointer and knock it down and treat the fans to that. Sabrina Ionescu. Here's Caitlin Clark driving. She's got the first 5 points. Wow. 7-0. What a start.
And what a pep to their step right now.
Caitlin Clark, 13 points. Pocket pass to Aaliyah Boston. Those two keep getting better.
The WNBA has never lacked stars or legends, but there's a crucial difference between greatness and arriving at the exact right moment. In the late 1970s, the NBA was struggling. Ratings were sinking, finances were unstable, and even finals games aired on tape delay. The league didn't need more talent. It needed a story people cared about. That changed when 2 players emerged from a college rivalry that captured the country. They didn't just win titles, they raised the league's entire ceiling. Caitlin Clark isn't a one-to-one comparison, but in terms of timing, leverage, and expanding the audience, the parallel is hard to ignore. Her rise didn't just elevate her own profile, it unlocked momentum the WNBA had been chasing for decades. By 2025, endorsement opportunities expanded across the league. Charter flights became standard rather than controversial, franchise values climbed, and broadcast negotiations took on a completely different tone. For the first time, the debate wasn't whether the league deserved investment, but how much growth it could realistically absorb. That shift matters more than any box score. One of the clearest indicators of Clark's impact isn't ratings alone. It's how the media now talks about the WNBA. Coverage moved away from survival arguments and legitimacy essays toward rivalries, playoff races, coaching decisions, and roster strategy. That's the language of a real, established league. Clark didn't do it alone, but she forced the door open. And once it opened, everything changed.
Coaching decisions, roster construction. That's what real leagues get. Clark didn't create that alone, but she forced the door open.
People that you were friends with, coached by here, just the entirety of that experience, what did this mean to you?
I think it's hard to put into words like what exactly it means to me. It's almost overwhelming to a point. Like, I'm just very, very thankful to be able to come back to a place that continues to support me, and it's just fun to come back here and like kind of feel like you're in college again in a way, but also it was a little weird like going in the locker room, but I don't know, something about this gym like just makes me play well. A lot of gratitude, and just these are the moments that like you never take for granted and you kind of just want to stay in for forever. So
here's where the story gets uncomfortable. Growth creates leverage, and leverage creates conflict. The Players Association has drawn a clear line. Revenue sharing must increase, salaries must rise, and working conditions must finally modernize. A potential work stoppage in 2026 is no longer a distant theory. It's a real possibility. And that's the paradox the league now faces. Caitlin Clark is simultaneously the WNBA's most powerful economic engine and the force intensifying labor pressure. Without her, a strike would hurt. With her, it could be devastating. If Clark enters 2026 healthy, established, and carrying sustained fan engagement, the league isn't negotiating from scarcity anymore. It's negotiating for momentum, and momentum completely changes the math. Sponsors don't tolerate pauses. Broadcasters don't accept silence. Fans don't forgive interruptions. The cost of stopping play has never been higher. From here, there are only 2 paths. One freezes growth, cools casual interest, and slows the league's velocity. Survival without acceleration. The other embraces adaptation, improved revenue sharing, Higher salary floors, modern infrastructure. Not just because players demand it, but because the upside is finally undeniable. The uncomfortable truth about Caitlin Clark isn't that she's overhyped. It's that the league wasn't prepared for the scale of change she unleashed. She didn't just exceed expectations. She redefined what success looks like. And once that line is crossed, there's no resetting it. The WNBA is no longer asking to be seen. It's figuring out how to operate now that everyone is watching.